Welcome to the Sales Navigator live show with Stan and Bryn. Join LinkedIn expert and sales professional Bryn Tillman and me, Stan Robinson Jr., Chief Coaching Officer here at Social Sales Link, as we bring you the best tips and strategies for leveraging Sales Navigator for your sales success. Enjoy the show. Welcome to Sales Navigator Insights. Today, I'm excited to have a special guest with us. We have Paul Lewis, Head of Digital, Social Media Marketing, and Sales Enablement with Pitney Bowes in London, England. Paul, welcome to Sales Navigator Insights. It is so great to have you with us.
Thanks, Dan. Pleasure being here. Thanks for the invite.
Yep, that is my pleasure. So, as always, we talk about things related to Sales Nav, how people are using it, what they like about it, what they might like to see improved in the future. Although Sales Navigator has come out with some awesome improvements, or particularly around the area of AI, and they're continuing to come out. But as a starting point, Paul, could you tell us just a little bit about what you're doing now and your background, and get us started like that, if you would?
Sure. Wow, I'm a sort of a 30-year sales and marketing veteran, I guess you could say.
Awesome.
So I've worked for a number of large enterprise organizations within, let's call it the technology sector. I'm currently at Pitney Bowes, where I oversee digital sales and social selling. In fact, I think today is my 11th anniversary at Pitney Bowes.
Oh, wow. Well,
So
congratulations.
quite a significant day, actually.
Yes, indeed. Pitney Bowes. I mean, Pitney Bowes, I don't know how long the company's been around, but I know it's a long time. I remember decades ago when I thought of Pitney Bowes, I thought of these machines that I think people may have weighed packages that they were going to be sending out and then printed out the postage. Is that more or less right?
Yeah, you're correct. We are synonymous with the postage meter. The company is what, now 105 years old, I think it might
Is it
be.
really? Okay.
And obviously we've evolved and
Oh,
diversified, especially in recent years. So there's a lot more to us now than just your
yes.
postage meter. But exciting times lay ahead.
Yes. Yes. All right. Good. And at what point did you start using Sales Navigator?
That would probably be, I would say, around 2013, 2014. So
Really?
I'm pretty much a very, very early adopter.
Yes.
This was really kind of that moment when I launched what's known internally as our social selling program.
Ah, wow. Okay. Okay. Extremely early adopter. So you've seen the platform go through a number of iterations, I'm sure.
Very, very much so. If I kind of think back to how, what Sales Navigator was like back then and comparing
Yeah.
it to to today, I mean, it's really changed in a huge way. It's been great to sort of be part of that journey anyway, to see the product's evolution.
I can imagine. I can imagine. And were you, this is your 11th, I'm trying to do the math. It sounds like you started on Sales Navigator before you started with Pitney Bowes.
I kind of played around with,
with it? Okay,
but yeah, only in a small way.
gotcha,
And then
gotcha.
when I sort of first joined Pitney Bowes, we were looking at ways of working with sales, helping them to, build a sales pipeline. And we started, kind of using social media,
Ah,
specifically LinkedIn, but
mhm.
really that was predominantly, I would say, geared around using standard regular LinkedIn.
LinkedIn.
um, and that's when we started to look further into Sales Navigator. And obviously when we found out exactly what Sales Navigator would be able to do for the sales organization,
Position.
that was kind of like when the light bulbs went off, and
Wow.
we realized this is really what we're looking for.
Great. So you had already started looking into the world of social selling. I think the name may have come out probably around then, if not a little bit before. So you were already in that direction. You'd already explored using LinkedIn as a sales tool, if I heard you correctly.
Correct.
And then when they announced Sales Navigator, it's just like, oh, well, this is even better. And let's start working
Absolutely.
with this. Okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, I can imagine it was a totally different platform. So you just answered my next question, which was why the company started to use it initially, is that it was an extension of what you were already doing with LinkedIn, but exclusively focused on sales. Is that more or less
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Like I say, we were up until that point, using regular LinkedIn. Um, we then started to look into Sales Navigator more, realized the benefits, the features, the potential that it could offer, our sales organization. And really from there, um, that was that kind of catalyst moment for us to launch the social selling program, of which then I seeked out an executive sponsor internally,
Ah,
because obviously we needed budget to be able to buy in some licenses.
mm,
And
mhm, mhm,
it really was a case then of selecting the right salespeople, assigning those licenses, training them up, and
ah,
monitoring, how they were using it, and if they were seeing results. And obviously, then that would be able to, let's say, pave the way for additional investment for us to build and scale that program. And that's really what I've done over the past sort of 10 years.
wow. Okay. Well, Paul, if it's okay, I know I kind of gave you a heads up as far as some of the things we'd be talking about, but based on what you just described, I want to dig a little bit deeper into what you just talked about in terms of how you got
Sure.
started, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure.
Um, so were you on the sales side or on the social media side because it sounds like you were kind of the catalyst, or at least a big part of it, to get it going when you mentioned looking for an executive sponsor and then selecting the salespeople who would actually start using it. Whereas these days, with a lot of companies, they have a certain number of sales nav licenses. When people onboard, they automatically get a license. Is it fair to say that you were kind of part of the impetus at your company to look into sales nav?
Yeah, I guess you could say that. I mean, I'm a marketer by background. When I joined
Okay.
Pitney Bowes, I was overseeing campaign and content marketing. But
Ah,
I was dabbling in using social media, and kind of became known, and still am today, actually, as the LinkedIn guy within Pitney Bowes. So anytime anyone's got a question about LinkedIn, they approach me. And then I sort of progressed then to move into a more social media focused role.
Mm,
And that
gotcha.
was something that I was interested in, but I also wanted to retain some of the other sort of content and campaign marketing
Yeah.
activities that I was undertaking to support the sales organization. So
Position.
it kind of all
Wow.
sort of just gelled together.
Yes. Yes. Okay. And since you were on the marketing slash social media side, did you have a counterpart in sales who was kind of the internal champion and said, yeah, I want some of my sales team to get on board with this?
So, like I say, I approached a senior exec at the time who really I sold the idea into.
Too. Yeah.
And thankfully, he was open-minded. He was technologically savvy. So, he was all for embracing technology and enabling our sales team. And
Great.
he, very kindly sort of backed me to say, look, let's give this a go. Let's dip our toe in the water, so to speak. Let's see where this takes us. And obviously, if it's seen to be generating leads, generating sales opportunities, and ultimately, if we can attribute the sales efforts of using Sales Navigator
Navigator.
to helping to win and close business, then that's going to be kind of the icing
Mm,
on the cake, so to speak. And that's really the way that things went. I guess thinking back now, it was probably about 10 months in, 9 or 10 months
mm,
in. And we then recorded our first win, which could be attributed
mm,
back to using Sales Navigator. And really from there, once we started to communicate that initial win across the business, and we started to reveal to other sales teams what it was that we
what
were
it was.
doing, everybody kind of wanted a piece of the action.
Great.
And that obviously just garnered further interest, and really the program has just grown and scaled from
From
there.
there. Good deal. Well, I appreciate your sharing that. I know it was impromptu, but a couple things for all of our listeners. And Paul, correct me if I'm wrong in your case, but in my case, we're not getting compensated by Sales Navigator. We're not here to sell Sales Navigator licenses. Okay, that's the Sales Nav sales team. But I wanted to take some time to talk about this because other organizations may be potentially looking at this tool and trying to figure out, okay, what's a good way to pilot it, see if this tool really works before we make a significant investment in licenses. And that's why I was curious about your experience. One thing that does come up a lot, and you had some experience with this, how did you track the return on investment, so to speak, or as you mentioned, 10 months in, it sounded like you were able to attribute a specific deal to Sales Nav. How did you keep track of what came from Sales Nav?
So this was at a time, Stan, when Sales Navigator didn't integrate with any
The
of the the
CRM,
the, the CRM systems.
right?
So how we were doing it was we had created a particular campaign code for our CRM system,
Mm-hmm,
which we
mm-hmm.
rolled out to all of the salespeople who were using the Sales Navigator licenses.
Okay,
And I would be meeting with all of them either on a group or even on a one-to-one basis. And every single time, I mean, they must have grown tired of hearing it from me, but I kept saying to them, if you generate a sales opportunity, when you go to, input that into our CRM system, please take the campaign code that I have given you, and drop that into the sort of the source field. At
Yes.
least that way we then know that that particular opportunity can be attributed back to using Sales Nav. And then more importantly, what I would do is track how that sales opportunity is progressing,
Mhm,
and
mhm,
if that went through to to close, then what I would do is afterwards work with the sales rep to actually just do a very, very brief write up on exactly what they undertook using Sales Navigator, how they generated that opportunity,
mhm.
some of the features that Sales Navigator has to offer that maybe they leveraged, and then I would be able to share that across the business, and just really kind of reveal, look, this team is having success. This is what they're doing, and it was kind of like just sort of a a showcase or an internal case study. But again, it just garnered further interest
Yes.
and helped to scale the program.
Great. Okay. Yep, that's awesome. And of course, now it's a totally new day. Everything's integrated with CRM for those that are using Advanced Plus.
Yes.
So yes. So, but you got it going. And based on your experience over the years, which of Sales Navigator's features do you find that your sales team finds most helpful in terms of driving business?
Wow. I mean, there are so many.
Mm,
I could discuss this at length. I mean,
good.
a personal favorite of mine,
Mhm.
which I don't think, not necessarily just within Pitney Bowes, but within other organizations,
Yes,
I don't think people necessarily take full advantage of, as smart links. I just
yes.
think it's a really, really clever piece of technology. Um, Having said that, though, I really think the filtering capabilities that Sales Navigator has to offer, whereby you can go to such a granular level of detail, and it blows me away each and every time that I undertake a lead search, or an account search on behalf of a sales rep.
Mhm,
um, you
mhm.
know, as I start to input the targeting criteria and I just watch the number, you know,
Yes.
go from, like, let's say 1.2 million, down to a far more manageable,
Number. Mm,
78 people or something like that. Um,
yes.
so, it's, I think the filtering, that just always grabs me. And again, LinkedIn are continuously evolving that and introducing new filters.
Mm,
So just to be able to use that and get that precision and that laser kind of focused,
focus.
kind of approach to identifying, the exact personas that you're looking to target. That's what stands out for me.
Great. Yep. And that's when people are on LinkedIn, the mothership, and do a search. LinkedIn does make a point of popping up a little pop-up that says, hey, you can get, I forget what it is, 14 additional filters if you upgrade to Sales Nav.
Yeah.
So filters are definitely a crowd favorite. Smart links. I think that's one that is underutilized. Do you mind talking a little bit just about how you and your team use it?
We've used it in a number of ways. I mean, for those that aren't familiar with smart links, it's just a real clever piece of technology whereby you can pull together content. So you sort of package the content up, generate a trackable URL, trackable link, which you can then send out.
Mm,
And then obviously, if someone then clicks on that link, you will get notified that the individual is viewing it. And then more importantly, you can then drill down into additional data to see what they've been viewing and how long they've viewed it for. And if it's like a PDF, that they've spent 38 seconds on
Got it.
page 6. So obviously you can see where the interest may lay. Um, so, we've packaged up the content. We've sent that out to targets. I've, you know, had multiple uses for smart links. I've had salespeople in the past put proposal documents together,
Yep. Mhm.
and then send out that document via smart links. And that's going to help them to identify all of those individuals that are involved in the decision making process. And it's quite interesting actually when you start to see,
Yeah.
apart from your sort of main contacts at the account that you've been liaising with, as to all of a sudden somebody in procurement or someone in technology or someone in legal, is viewing the proposal or the contract. Um, so we've used it in that way.
Right.
We've also used it as part of event marketing. So we
Mhm.
create and package up a smart link presentation. We
Mhm.
take the trackable URL, but what we've then done is turned that URL into a QR code,
Yes.
and we've put the QR code on, a booth panel, and encourage individuals that are, coming onto the Pitney Bowes booth at whatever the event may be. If they want to learn
Okay.
more, scan the
Mm.
QR code. They get all of the content, and at the same time, we're obviously capturing their details.
Wow.
So, I think there's a lot of creative ways that you can use
That.
that technology, and I agree, Stan, with what you're saying. That I think it's underutilized, and it's one of those. I think it's somewhat a hidden feature within Sales
Sales
Navigator that a
Navigator.
lot of people don't actually realize exists. So
Yes.
maybe that's something for LinkedIn to consider anyway. Trying to sort of bring it to the forefront of Sales Navigator and make it a little more prominent.
Yep. Promoting it uh, better. So thank you for sharing that because we've used it for proposals. And as you say, not only does it allow you to gauge individual interest in specific pieces of content by viewing how long a person spends on that, so you can see what's of interest to them. But as you talked about, you can also use it to help you map decision makers within an organization that you may have been totally unaware of just by seeing who it's passed to, because they have to open it by putting in their email. So extremely powerful. The marketing application, we've used it when doing presentations, for example, and one of the two groups, and one of the first questions always is, can we get a copy of the presentation? So we put the presentation in a smart link, create a QR code, put the QR code on the first slide of the presentation, say, if you want to copy the presentation, take a
There
picture,
you go.
there you are. But what you mentioned about using it for marketing is brilliant. So thank you. That's why I love doing these, because every single time I get something where I can say, didn't think about that. That's another way we can use it. We'll be wrapping up in a couple of minutes, but I also wanted to ask because I know things have changed from your early days when kind of you were the impetus. Now I imagine that you've got a large team, a large number of people using Sales Navigator. But I imagine when people first onboard at Pitney Bowes, some of them may not be familiar with Sales Nav or with how you would like them to use it. Is there a particular process that you use for bringing new people, new sales reps up to speed?
Yeah, I mean, I've bought and devised a full onboarding process that really begins with, I mean, we don't even touch Sales Navigator, to be honest with you, to begin with.
Right. Yeah.
It focuses, and you probably know what I'm going to say here, Stan, anyway, but it focuses on the LinkedIn basics,
Mm,
and more importantly, building and optimizing the individual's LinkedIn profile.
yep.
Ultimately, any kind of activity that you carry out within the platform is likely to result in someone clicking through to view your profile. So you
Yes.
obviously need to ensure that you're positioning yourself in the right way, in the right context, and giving out the right information. From there, that sort of transitions into using Sales Navigator, um, taking them through what I would class as being the basics, covering off some of the core features that the tool offers, and slowly but surely building over a period of time,
Mhm.
rather than just trying to obviously you know cover off every single feature that Navigator has to offer, which then just simply becomes information overload.
Yes.
So I've got that onboarding process, which also ties nicely into the sort of social selling or digital sales methodology that I've devised within Pitney Bowes as well. So
Mm,
the salespeople can see at which points along the sales process Sales Navigator can play a part, and how they can use it.
great. Okay. Okay. So it's a program and it's, as you said, it's over time because otherwise it feels like drinking from a fire hose. Just Sales Navigator alone, let alone all the other components of a digital selling program.
Yeah.
So, yep, yep, totally understood. Good enough. You've seen many, many changes in Sales Navigator. Is there anything that you would like them to do eh, going forward? Just as, if they could do this or make it easier for us to do something. Anything along those lines?
Let me think. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, there's a few things that sort of spring to mind. I still work very closely with my marketing counterparts at Pitney Bowes, colleagues of mine on the social media team who oversee paid for advertising campaigns on LinkedIn. I'd love to
Mm,
be able to see the integration between the advertising campaign manager and sales navigator. So
wow.
sales reps build their target lists, which we can then pull through and use as part of advertising campaigns.
Mm,
And I think that potentially might even be a consideration
consideration.
that LinkedIn are thinking about. In addition, I mean, some of my sales reps that I work with, a lot of them use video. A lot of them use audio. I think it would be nice to see that integrated into in-mail messaging. Um,
Mm,
and then
okay.
being selfish here, I think the one for me personally would be to automate usage reporting. So at the moment, I have to
Oh.
go in and manually run a report,
Mhm.
and then I can send that around to whoever needs to see it. And I do have a Power BI dashboard, to be honest with you, that I
Okay.
point people to as well. But I think it would just be nice for LinkedIn to be able to, let's say, on the first day of every month, automatically
Great.
send me an email that's got the specific reports that I need, so there they are, readily available, rather
Totally.
than me having to go in and
Go in.
manually start to download them.
Yes.
So
Yep.
there's three,
Well,
Stan. I could probably go on and on and on. But I'll give you those three for starters.
that is great. That is great. Yes, and in this age of automation, especially what you talked about, the last point, being able to automate reporting, that shouldn't be a terribly heavy lift for them.
Yeah.
Yeah. But listen, Paul, I appreciate this time. This has been awesome. I want to thank you for the insights that you've shared, because yeah, this has been super helpful. And I know I'll be going back to listen to the recording again. Are there any final thoughts? Because I know it's evening time there for you, so I want to be respectful of your time.
Final thoughts, all I would say is, anyone who is considering Sales Navigator, I think it's the core tool for any salesperson's toolkit. And I think a lot of my sales reps, that I work with, they'd be lost without it. So it's definitely worth looking into.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that if people do utilize it and leverage it on a daily basis, even if it's for just a few minutes a day, you will see the results. So yeah.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Well, good. Paul, once again, thank you so much. If now I'll put this out here and you decide, if people would like to follow up, learn more about you, learn more about Pitney Bowes, what would you suggest is the best way for them to contact you?
Best thing to do is find me on LinkedIn, send me a connection request. I'm more than happy to connect with anyone. And of course, if anyone does have additional questions, then feel free to message me.
Perfect. Great. Yep. And please send Paul a personalized invitation. If you'd mentioned you've heard him here on the Sales Navigator Insights podcast, that's great. But Paul, thank you for making that available.
You're welcome. Thank you, Stan. Appreciate it.
All right. Thanks for listening. And join us again for more insights on Sales Navigator and social selling strategies that will differentiate you from your competitors and accelerate your sales success. In the meantime, you can go to socialsaleslink.com/library for free content on LinkedIn, Sales Navigator, and social selling.